In our countdown to Copenhagen coverage, what is holding up a new world climate treaty? Sweden's prime minister says it is the U.S. Senate specifically. Prime Minister Fredrik Reinfeldt returned to Europe after the U.S.-EU summit here in Washington earlier this week, and he said the slow Senate progress means there cannot be a full treaty signed in Copenhagen next month. Coordinated action to combat climate change was the first specific in the energy initiative between the EU and the U.S. signed just yesterday. However, there were no details in the declaration itself. The last formal world talks before the Copenhagen meeting are now underway in Barcelona, and our executive editor Margaret Ryan is joining us now live from those international talks. Margaret, good morning to you.
Good morning, Tyler.
Let's talk first of all about the Swedish Prime Minister. We reported his comments yesterday that it was virtually impossible to get something together in Copenhagen. And as we said, he's now blaming the U.S. Senate specifically as a hurdle.
Well, if that's the holdup, in large part it depends on who you ask. It's true that the U.S. negotiators have been hard-pressed here for specific numbers. How much will the U.S. cut back? It's true that they have been, as representatives of the country, absolutely unable to give those numbers. They give the ranges that are in the various pending bills, in the Waxman-Markey bill and in the Boxer-Kerry bill. But the U.S. insistence is the numbers aren't so important, we can get to those. The U.S. wants a concept accepted that all countries have an obligation to do something according to their means and according to their historic obligations. But everybody should accept an obligation. This is being firmly resisted by the developing nations who say, no, 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 climate change is happening and it's damaging us because you industrialized countries have been pumping carbon into the atmosphere for 150 years. So they're not getting a whole lot of traction with those countries, and those countries in turn say, we're not going to do anything until you promise some numbers, put some numbers on the table.
You're alluding to really the only major news to come out of Barcelona so far this week, and that is the boycott led by African nations there on Tuesday. That seems to have settled down so much, but really not much substantial progress widely reported so far in those international talks. Would you agree?
Really not, and in fact, just moments ago, the EU's the European Commission's chief negotiator, Arthur Runge-Metzger, had an informal kind of press gaggle here in the hallway, and he gave a very pessimistic view of how things are developing. One of the reporters walked away and said, "Well, cancel your Copenhagen hotel room." He says everybody is waiting on someone else. And the EU has put numbers on the table. They've put a rough, aid offer, and they've offered to go from 20 up to 30% carbon cuts if other people will sort of come around. And so far, it hasn't gotten anybody. So far, it's still everybody's waiting on the others. So Runge-Metzger said basically he did not see it possible for a treaty to come out of Copenhagen. It would more likely be some agreement to keep on talking.
Well, Margaret, last question then. Does this add pressure and gravitas to the position that the U.S. and China really will be pivotal in Copenhagen, or is the fact that a deal seems unlikely dampening their weight and their negotiating prowess once we get there next month?
Well, there are an awful lot of people here, Tyler, who've put in years of their lives trying to get, something in Copenhagen, been aiming towards that. And that includes negotiators from the U.S. and China. You don't have any real global climate change doubters here. You have people who are really committed, and they really want to see something done and something accomplished in Copenhagen or in whatever city they want to see it done. So if the U.S. and China can step up the action, then I think it'll be widely welcomed. Pardon me. But right now, it's just it seems this dance of people saying, "You go first." No, you go first.
Clean Skies News executive editor Margaret Ryan reporting live from the climate talks in Barcelona. Margaret, we will talk to you later today. Thank you for the latest from those talks.
Thank you, Tyler.
All right.